For Presidents 2, this is our video theme, presidential staff. And I should write that on there. But it's also going to cover, we're going to get into the judicial system a little bit today, and then I'll start covering Supreme Court a little bit more on Monday with you guys. And then we need to start the process of reviewing for the final to be successful. So the questions that I have for you guys, when picking White House members, I should say White House staff members, having issues today. What does the president typically seek? What is important when selecting people to fill cabinet positions? They're two different things, by the way, the staff and the cabinet positions. And there's an example of like staff cabinet positions. Who is the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, Secretary of Labor? And to find this information, go to this website right here that I put on there, and it lists everything for you. You can find out who the Chief of Staff is as well. Actually, how about that? And who is the Chief of Staff? Okay, so perfect. So there's the website to go to. And then, what is the provisions of the War Powers Act? What are the 3 levels of the federal court system? What are the terms of the judges? And who approves their appointment, the judges' appointments? How many district courts are there? Appellate courts? What needs to happen in order for a case to go to the Supreme Court? And define the roles of the Attorney General, Solicitor General, and U.S. attorneys. I apologize. I didn't think I'd have as much difficulty today. Apparently, I am. All right. So there's our theme. There's our questions. Write those down. You should be able to answer those along the way. I'm going to skip along with. There's no PowerPoint for these notes. And so I'm going to skip along my notes, and I'll tell you what sections to really focus on and what sections to really write down. Alrighty. So as presidential staff, we're looking at question 1. And yes. This is the immediate staff of the president. So White House office or White House staff. This is the West Wing of the president. These are the people that are probably some of his closest advisors. They're the ones closest in proximity to the president. So just realize that. Don't worry about the organization of them. Let's take a look here at the appointments to the White House staff, e.g. Chief of Staff, generally do not require Senate consent. Officials are less subject to testifying before Congress since they have a greater degree of executive privilege protection, which means the president can protect them because what they're saying and what they're doing could be considered for the benefit of national security. Presidents typically seek people who are loyal. Why do you want somebody loyal to be your chief of staff, to be one of your closest advisors? Because you want them to be a party loyalist, to do what's best for you and for the party, and obviously and for the nation as well. But that's why you want that. Fewer divided loyalties are as compared to cabinet positions. Cabinet positions you fill with members of the other party. So if I'm Democrat, I have members that are Republican as well in the cabinet positions. Alrighty. And by the way, cabinet positions are approved by Senate, not the staff positions. So just there's that. Again, not too much information there. I'm not going over detail with that. But these are just people, close, confident people that advise the president on day-to-day operations. That was Ali saying hi. Cabinet members. Again, who are these? These are appointed by the president with Senate consent. And cabinet officials, in our system, cabinet officials are consistently banned from being members of Congress. They meet irregularly, and cabinet officials are more interested in defending and enlarging their own departments, and they're meeting together to banner public policy. The cabinet members look after certain things. The Attorney General's law enforcement, Secretary of State's doing those different things. Looking at, we'll go to the website. Breaks it down for you, but Each one is worried about their department and what their department does. Secretary of State, she's obviously Hillary Clinton, tries to make good with other nations, protect the nation in regards to foreign affairs. So that's their position, and that's why they're nonpartisan positions per se. Anyway, so I want to go down here to, this is talking about the president, abuse of presidential power. That's what imperial presidency is. I'm just skipping ahead because where Congress responds to the imperial president, which means it's too powerful. So we're going to be looking at number 2 now. Okay, so really look in here if you have questions like, okay, what's the Attorney General do, or Secretary of Labor? Again, the Secretary of Labor is worried about labor statistics, unemployment rate, how, things of this nature, how to get unemployment back. So click on this website, and it should be able to take you there. All right. War Powers Act. Again, why do we have the imperial presidency? The background, the Vietnam War, Watergate, resignation of Nixon. These are all examples of the abuses of the presidential power for a very long time. So this is important. So the War Powers Act is trying to bring in that presidential power and stop the abuse of it. So passage of the War Powers Resolution was 1973. Here's what the president still abuses. But president can send troops overseas to an area where hostilities are imminent without a congressional war declaration only after these circumstances. Must notify Congress within 48 hours. Must withdraw troops after 60 days, but can extend it another 30 days if the safety of the troops requires it. Must consult with Congress or if troops are to engage in combat, and Congress can pass a resolution not subject to presidential veto to withdraw troops. Criticisms. It is unconstitutional. President's authority, it's usurping presidential authority as commander-in-chief, ties the hand of the president too inflexible, and makes it easy for the enemy. 60, 90 days troops. However, again, they have extended some of those in recent events. Emergency powers. Powers of the National Emergency Act, 1976. President must inform Congress when advanced powers to be used in emergencies like taking control, more power. State of emergency automatically ends after 6 months. President can declare another state of emergency after 6 months. Has to be under Congress review, though. And then I'm going to fast forward through this. And then we're looking at this, some foreign affairs, extensive debate over U.S. involvement in the Gulf War. Although Bush did not use the War Powers Act, he did go to Congress to get his approval for the U.S. action. And then extensive debate over U.S. involvement in war with Iraq in 2003. Although Bush did not use War Powers Act, he did go to Congress and get approval for U.S. action. So that's how you get around that. Then you got the Patriot Act, which we've already kind of talked about. So they went to Congress to get approval. Introduction of federal courts. We're not going to look at different laws, different things. Jurisdiction, we're not going to necessarily worry about that. We're going to go right to... This is the actual courts themselves. So now we are looking at 3. Okay, so first thing here says Article 2 of the Constitution deals with the judiciary and creates a Supreme Court while also giving Congress the power to create inferior or lower courts. These 3 levels of courts form the main basis of our federal court system. Very important. Number 2, judges in these courts hold life terms. Be sure you don't worry about the Alexander Hamilton number 78, but hold lifetime terms. Why? To keep politics out of it, so they are not campaigning. You want them just to be judges. Don't worry about campaigning for your job. The 3 levels of the courts are the District, Court of Appeals, and Supreme Court. District courts handle 90% of all federal cases. There's 94 such courts, 610 judges. Cases are tried by judge and a jury. Use grand juries to issue indictments in order to charge individuals with a crime. A trial jury decides the outcomes of the case. And then this jurisdiction, they have original jurisdiction, may try civil, criminal, or constitutional cases. Decisions may be appealed to Court of Appeals. So Court of Appeals, circuit courts. There are 12 of these spread out in 12 districts or circuits. 156 judges. Cases tried by panel of 3 judges, except when all judges are in circuit court to hear, of course, en banc. Jurisdiction is appellate, which means hears appeals from district courts and regulatory commissions. So, district court, you appeal your decision, it goes to the Court of Appeals. Then Supreme Court, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but the decisions may be appealed to the Supreme Court. So the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court hears cases from the Court of Appeals and also states. So if I just quickly, I don't mean to do this to you, but I don't want to confuse you. Jurisdiction, they have original jurisdiction in states and with ambassadors, and appellate in cases from courts of appeals and state Supreme Courts. So when they want to look at a case, they can look at a case in the California State Supreme Court or Court of Appeals. Okay, so that's when a case goes to the Supreme Court. Okay, going back here. So we've answered these. How many district courts are there? Appellate courts. Who needs to have a case go to the Supreme Court? We just talked about that and defined these various roles. Let's quickly go to that. So there's there. Now, federal attorneys and judges. Federal attorney general appointed by president. This is the head of the Justice Department. Solicitor general appointed by president, Senate consent. Represents U.S. government in Supreme Court. Decides which cases the federal government will appeal to the Supreme Court. Decides the federal government's position in these cases, and sometimes called the quote-unquote 10th Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court because of influence there. U.S. attorneys, at least one for each district court, 94 in all. Prosecutes federal criminal cases before the district courts, the Court of Appeals. Most cases settled plea bargaining. Represents U.S. government in civil cases before these same courts. Appointed by the president for 4-year terms. And senatorial courtesy applies to their, which has to do with right here. When appointing district courts or judge the U.S. attorneys, president must consult with 2 senators from the state in which they are to be appointed. The Senate will then show courtesy to these 2 senators by not confirming judges to whom the Senate object. So if the senators say yes, they're fine, or one of them doesn't say they're fine, then they cannot get appointed until both of them have given them the president the power to do that. So I think that will be it for today. I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start here on Monday. All right? Do you have any questions? I've done all of these for you except for these parts here. So if you have any questions, write them down. I'll talk about this on Monday. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget, video quiz Monday, Tuesday study session, Wednesday vocab quiz, Thursday and Friday, depends on the class. We have our midterm, our final. And you guys will do wonderful. Alrighty, I'll talk to you later.